The Fender Jaguar is a guitar that I always wanted, but I just never seemed to get. I remember the first time I watched Nirvana's live at the Paramount, and when I saw Cobain's Jaguar, I just thought it was an amazing guitar. And if you've watched any of the other videos on my channel, you know that Cobain's guitars are a huge influence on me. I have a Jagstang and several Mustangs, and even my Telecaster is somewhat based around his Vandalism Strat. I was going to settle with just getting a Squier Classic Vibes Jaguar, this one in Olympic White in particular, but deep down I knew it wasn't what I really wanted. I wanted some version of Cobain's Jaguar. But this was not going to be some simple task. Cobain's Jaguar is actually quite unique. The main characteristics that are different are the two humbuckers instead of the standard Jaguar single coils, an extra volume pot, as well as a three-way toggle switch. Fender does offer a Cobain Signature Series Jaguar, but it's not really accurate to his. The paint jobs to me is the biggest thing it takes away from this guitar. The new ones have a polyurethane gloss coat and a new modern sunburst instead of the nitrocellulose finish with a vintage sunburst. Even the bridges are different. Yes, they're both Goto 2-pneumatic bridges, but the style is completely different, and little things like that when you're paying $1,600 kind of rack up. There's also an extra strap button on the other side of the Jaguar, at least on Kurt's, but on the Signature Series it's missing, and that's a little thing that I feel like they could have easily just put on. And again, that's a lot of little bitty things that add up to a $1,600 guitar that you would have to change if you want it to really be accurate. And if I'm paying $1,600, I want it to be what it's claiming to be, not something else. And I've heard sound demos of this guitar that sound really good, and I've heard some that sound just god awful. I mean, it's really just kind of hit and miss. And again, a $1,600 guitar that's a hit or a miss is not worth buying, in my opinion. And after watching Aaron Rash's video on how he built his own custom Jaguar, I knew that I could do the same. So over the span of like 4 to 6 months, I just started buying up parts that I knew I'd need to make this Jaguar. The body's just like Aaron's. It came from MJT Guitars, and it's a classic 3-tone sunburst and a nitro finish. It cost me around $475, I believe, with shipping and tax, and it took about 4 months to get here, but it was well worth it. So once I got back from vacation, the pick guard came in, and it was time to assemble, but oh my god, did I bite off more than I could chew. The actual assembly part of the guitar, like putting all the parts into the body and setting up the neck and stuff, that's pretty simple, at least for me. The thing that gets me is wiring. In a standard Jaguar wiring diagram, it's not that complex, and if you're kind of used to building guitars, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. However, Cobain's Jaguar setup is entirely different, and it was something that I knew I could figure out, but I think I just screwed myself over with the quality of the parts that I got. I bought the wiring kit as well as these two plates from EY Parts. And the switch is a Music Lily 3-way toggle switch, but I don't know if it's the switch, I don't know if it's the pots, I don't really know what any of it is. I just had the hardest time in the world getting this thing to work. The switch itself would not work with me. I kind of just rigged it in a way to where it works, but it doesn't work the way it should actually work. And the volume and tone pots on the master kind of controls, not where you switch the neck toggle switch, but just the main kind of knobs at the bottom, they don't function as knobs. They function as switches. Like if you turn them, it cuts off the pickups. I have no clue. I have no clue how that works. I have no clue why it does it the way it does. I don't know if these things are just janky. I don't know what's going on, but they do not function properly. But after literal days of taking this thing apart, soldering things and resoldering things, having to kind of route the body in certain areas to get all the wires to work or to fit. I mean, it was this constant non-stop taking apart, putting back together, taking apart, putting back together. But I finally got it in some form of a functioning state. And now it's presentable to y'all. This is without a doubt one of my favorite guitars ever. The neck's just a classic player Jaguar neck that I got off Amazon, and it feels and looks great. MJT did a fantastic job with this body as well. There's just something about the classic 3-tone sunburst that a modern one just can't do. I gave the body just a few little beats and bangs and nicks and scratches just to make it look old and used. This is the classic player tremolo system. It fits in the guitar just fine and works very well. The pickups are the same as Cobain's, with the PAF 36th anniversary in the neck and a super distortion in the bridge. And here's a more accurate version of the Tune-O-Matic bridge. Now you'll notice that the pickup and string are a bit off-centered. You see, you have this thing called a standard space pickup, which is what I have in this guitar, and you have an F space pickup. And these are a bit more spaced out, which is what I really needed, but at the time I didn't really know that. And if you do a build similar to this, I would suggest getting F space pickups for the bridge. And here's the back of the guitar, and it looks, again, fantastic. I really am happy with how this thing turned out, even though the pots really work more like switches, but that's okay. As long as it makes the sound it's supposed to make, I'm perfectly fine with it. So now I guess I'm going to do a little demo. I'm recording this on my phone. I need to really get some type of recording software or something so I can do better recordings on my guitars, but this will do for now. So this little part's going to be a comparison of my Jagstang versus the Jaguar. They both have a super distortion in the bridge, and I just kind of wanted to show a comparison and how different they kind of sound, even though they're the same pickup in different guitars. To me, there's a huge difference between the two sounds of these guitars. The Jaguar is clearly, at least to me, a bit brighter and a bit just louder and acoustic in a way. And the Jagstang's kind of quiet and kind of twangy. In the end, I probably spent around $1,000 on this guitar between building up all the parts just to make it. And that's, again, around $600 less than the Kurt Cobain Jaguar. And that's not to say that my build's accurate to Cobain's Jaguar either. But for $600 less, I got almost exactly what I wanted. Outside of, the janky tone and volume pods. It looks great, it plays great, and it sounds great, and that's all that really matters. So if you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thanks a lot. This guitar build took me forever, and getting all the parts took, again, forever. I have another guitar video planned, but it just depends on when it actually gets here. It might get here at the end of the month, or it might get here at the beginning of next month. So just stick around to see whenever I can get that made. I want to say to all my subscribers that thank you for still subscribing. I know I don't really post that much anymore, but it's because, well, I graduated college. I got my bachelor's degree. I'm going back for my master's degree and have an apprenticeship at the school. I'm currently still working at the school, so I'm trying to get all that situated. There's just been a lot going on, and it takes away from me posting videos. And I want to post a few more videos before this year ends, possibly 2 or 3 more. I have a big one that I've been technically working on for like 3 years, and it might be completed by the end of the year, I'm hoping. But I just have to wait and see. That's a kind of one of those things where I have no control over what's going to happen. But if you enjoyed the content, thanks for sticking around, and I'll catch you in the next one.